Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here. Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, we have my Game Week 35 team selection. We really are at the business end of the season now, so every single decision matters. And in today's video, I'll tell you what my plan is to end the season strong. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, before we jump into Game Week 35, I just thought I'd really quickly show you how my team did in 34. If you're new to the channel and you didn't watch last week's videos, I did indeed wildcard in Game Week 34. So this is my wildcard team. This is how I ended up. And I got a green arrow, so I can't really complain too much. I'll be honest, in the past, when I tend to wildcard, I almost always get a red arrow that specific week. My team always tends to go very poorly. The team that I wildcarded out often do very well. And then the weeks after that, it starts to pick up because, of course, a wildcard isn't just for 1 week. You're planning long term. So the fact that I got a green arrow this week, I'm pretty happy with. I was hoping, of course, that it would give me a bit of a bigger boost. But a lot of the players that I didn't own did quite well. And to be honest, it was a fairly low-scoring week anyway until the final Chelsea-Manchester United game. So starting with the three Chelsea boys, they all did okay, I guess. Mount was the only one that blanked, but he got 5 points because he played both games. We've said for a while now Mount is probably the most nailed on attacker, and I'm glad that I did include Mount in the wildcard. Havertz got the single assist, again, along with the appearance points from both games. He did indeed start. That was 16 points, so I'm not too displeased with that. At least it was some kind of captaincy return. And then the big one for me was Alonso with a 19-pointer, which is absolutely amazing. Obviously, 2 attacking returns for him. And I'm a content creator that likes to admit when I've got lucky. I don't tend to think that I'm an incredible manager, and I'll be completely honest with you guys. If I had the money in the bank, if I had an extra 0.8 million, I would have 100% gone for Reece James over Alonso. So it's a bit of luck. These things happen. These things happen in FPL. Very unlucky if you did go for James, because if you watched the Manchester United game on Thursday evening, Reece James was absolutely rampant and he really did deserve an attacking return. That probably doesn't make you feel much better, but he really did. And the reason that I went for Alonso over James, there's only one reason, and you guys will know it if you watched the videos last week. It was Raheem Sterling. I absolutely broke my team to get Sterling in because I thought he was such a fantastic option for Watford and Leeds. And Sterling blanked, but the fact that I got Sterling in meant that I got Alonso. So Sterling has essentially got me those 17 points over Reece James, which is massive there. The 3 City boys are probably the most disappointing thing about the wild card. Obviously, the 2 strikers also blanked, but for me, it was those 3 City boys against Watford I was so excited for. I knew that City would score quite a few goals. I knew they'd probably keep Watford out, and I was thinking, this is the game. Of course, Watford scored with pretty much their only major attempt on goal, wiping out the Cancelo and Laporte clean sheet. Cancelo picked up a yellow card, and Sterling missed 2 big chances. Didn't get any attacking returns. Jesus got 5 attacking returns, and it left me with only 5 points from my 3 City players. So I feel a little bit hard done by that, but of course the swing for Alonso makes me feel a little bit better, and a slightly dodgy assist from Havertz as well. Outside of that, Schmeichel with an 8 points is fantastic. I said I'm not that pleased having Schmeichel, but there aren't that many keepers, and just due to the sheer amount of fixtures he's got, I'm fairly happy keeping him. So an 8 pointer off the bat, very, very happy with. Trent and Salah both getting a single return, which is okay, I guess, not too bad. Or Trent got the clean sheet, I should say, but that's fairly decent. 11 points between them. It wasn't always going to be the easiest fixture in the world, so I'm fairly happy with that. And then it's Watkins and Pookie, like I said, both blanking. The bench was fairly non-existent, apart from Matty Cash did pick up a clean sheet. So it would have been nice to play Cash, but I'll be honest, when I look at the rest of my team, there was probably no way I was ever going to play Cash. But really, I am happy with the wildcard, and a few people have asked me to build a wildcard for 35. I might do that on tomorrow's deadline stream, but realistically, it wouldn't change that much from this. Maybe I would lose one of Havertz and Mount for Heung-min Son. Maybe the bench would be a little bit stronger, and maybe I'd have Foden or De Bruyne ahead of Sterling. Outside that, I don't think the team would change too much, so I'm very happy with the wildcard. Let's move on to Game Week 35 and look if I've got any planned transfers. So maybe for the first time this season, I'm actually lining up in a 5-4-1 with 5 defenders, but they all look very, very good for this upcoming game week. So, like I said, lining up in a 5-4-1, I have 0.2 million in the bank and 1 free transfer. We'll discuss there are potential ways to use that free transfer. We're going to weigh that up with the probable likelihood of rolling a transfer, though, ready for my bench boost in 36. Again, if you watch the wildcard video, you'll know why it's so essential that I have 2 free transfers for 36, because I need to make at least 2 to upgrade one of my bench spots. But starting with the goalkeeper, I've got Foster in goal against Burnley. I don't particularly expect much from Watford there, but my other option is Schmeichel against Tottenham. And to be honest, I'm just playing the fixture here. It could quite easily be a cagey 0-0 or a 1-0 victory to either teams. Outside of that, I'm not expecting much from Schmeichel either. So Foster gets the nod in goal. Obviously, a home fixture as well gives him the slight advantage for me. I've then got a really good back five, like I said, or at least it looks pretty good on paper. Mostly away games. We've got Trent against Newcastle. Newcastle are looking very, very good at the moment, especially their defensive data. Their offensive data has been okay, but not fantastic. So hopeful that Trent can either get a clean sheet or some kind of attacking return. And Trent and Robertson seem to get a return of some kind almost every single week. So over on Fantasy Football Scout, they looked at this. I think it was Ted. The amount of attacking returns or clean sheets that Trent and Robertson pick up, you can probably expect something from them in most weeks. So very happy holding Trent for the remainder of the season. I've then got the two City players, as we spoke about in Game Week 34. Didn't get a clean sheet. I'm hoping for one here. Probably slightly less likely than the Watford one. But again, I'm not expecting them to concede many chances. Leeds look like they're playing for 0-0s almost every week, and they're playing in a very compact fashion. So I would expect, if I were to try and predict the way this game was going to go, I'd probably say something like 2 or 3-0 to Manchester City. So I actually do think that Cancelo is a fantastic captaincy option. And pretty much all week, Cancelo has had the armband on him for me because I don't own Son and Kane. However, I've recently moved it off of him, and I'm going to show you in a minute who's currently got the armband. But I think Cancelo and Laporte, clean sheet, probably quite likely here. I'm not expecting too much, though, because last week I was expecting a lot, and it kind of broke my heart when they conceded. I've then got Alonso. I think Alonso is going to continue to start. I think Chelsea pretty much have to line up in a back five. I just really don't think they look very good in the back four. And in the back five, there are very few players that can play at left wing back. I guess you could try and put Pulisic there. You could try and put Sarr there, but he's more of a centre back / left back. So Alonso looks fit. He looks fine. He hasn't played that many minutes this season. Obviously, Chilwell played a large majority in the sort of at the beginning of the season after Alonso had that stint. So Alonso should be feeling pretty fresh. And to be honest, I expect him to continue to start. So I'm happy starting Alonso in the team this week. And then the fifth and final defender is Matty Cash. Now, we'll discuss in a second. There is the possibility to bench Matty Cash for one of my attackers. But as we spoke about in the Game Week preview video, across the season, Aston Villa have the 6th best defensive data for expected goals conceded per 90. And across the last 6 weeks, they have the 5th best for expected goals conceded per 90. So Villa are a top defence. They don't concede a lot of opportunities. And Matty Cash has got decent enough data going forward. And as we'll discuss in a second in association with Fantasypaedia, Norwich do concede a reasonable amount of chances down their left-hand side where Matty Cash will be operating. So I think I'm going to have him starting. And I quite like the look of this 5-back. I mean, even including Foster as well. These 6 players all have fantastic fixtures. I'd hope for maybe 3 clean sheets. Maybe the City one, maybe Matty Cash, and then maybe one of the other ones. And then there's attacking returns galore. All of these players, even Laporte and Cash, all of these players have the potential for attacking returns. So I'm actually quite excited by the defence. Those are the 5 defenders. Let's move on to the 4 midfielders. Right, now I know what you're thinking. Raptor, you never learn your lesson. Get that armband off Raheem Sterling. And I appreciate that narrative. I appreciate that thought process as well. But do hear me out as to reason why he's currently got my armband. He's not definitely going to get the armband. If you tune into my deadline stream tomorrow, I will go over who my current captain is before the deadline. At the moment, I've got the armband on him. The reason for that is, number one, his data continues to be very good, even against Watford. And yes, they do need to finish these chances, but he was getting a few big chances there. He still looked fairly good, was picking up the correct positions. He, of course, only featured for about 7 or 8 minutes in the Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. So I think there's a very, very good chance he plays because it was quite a taxing game. The likes of Foden and De Bruyne are playing almost all of the minutes. I think they both played 90 minutes in there. So I think there's a reasonable chance that he starts this game. And if he does, there's the opportunity for a massive haul here. He only needs 1 attacking return if I think the clean sheet's there to get maybe a 10 or 11 pointer. And Sterling does have that explosive capability in his bag that when he does score, he often tends to get multiple returns. Now, that is a little bit of a narrative, but the data also supports that. And I look at my rank of 32k. It's not a bad rank at all, right? I'm very happy with it. I'll be on for one of my best finishes. I'm very, very happy with 30,000. Don't get me wrong. But I'm about 40 to 45 points off the top 10k. And if someone said to me, you can either settle for this now and maybe drop off slightly, or really, really push on towards the top 10k and maybe drop off all the way to sort of 80 or 90k overall rank, I think I'd rather take the risk. For me, there's not a massive difference between finishing 32,000 and finishing something like 60 or 70,000 if I know in my heart that I've given it my best to finish top 10k. So I've taken some risks throughout the season, don't get me wrong. I'm not a particularly safe manager. I do take hits, I do take risks. But at this stage, if I really want to try and push on towards the top 10k finish and I wanted to push on to try and win as many mini-leagues as possible, I do need to start taking a few more risks. And with such low ownership and such explosive ability, at the moment, Sterling does have my armband. Now, if Sterling doesn't get the armband, which, like I said, is still a possibility, it will probably actually be on Cancelo So Cancelo is currently my second choice. The reason I haven't got the Vice on Cancelo is I just don't like captaining and Vicing someone from the same game because you never know what's going to happen with that game. So at the moment, my Vice armband's actually on Salah. But if I don't captain Son, it'll probably be Cancelo. I just fancy taking a risk with one of the Manchester City players, and I think that they'll probably keep a clean sheet and score a few goals. So I think Sterling and Cancelo are both decent options. I just think Sterling's got that explosive ability in him that he could get 2 or 3 attacking returns in there. Like I said, Salah currently got the Vice armband. Very happy keeping Salah for the remainder of the season. I don't think the fixture is good enough for me this week to see him as a clear-cut captaincy choice. As I spoke about in the Game Week preview video, Newcastle actually have the 3rd best defensive data over the last 6 weeks. And across the season, they're pretty good as well. Eddie Howe has really, really tightened them up defensively. So I do expect Liverpool to win. I expect Liverpool to score goals. But I think there is more explosive ability in the likes of Sterling or hoping for a clean sheet and attacking return from Cancelo. So that's just my opinion on it. I think if I were advising from a sensible content creator standpoint, I'd probably advise you captain Salah. But for me, I think I'm ready to take a risk. And I've got the 2 Chelsea midfielders. Now, I think I'm happy keeping them both for 35 for different reasons. I'm happy keeping Mount because his underlying data is okay, and I think he's just going to probably play almost every minute this season. I think there's a good chance he's rested for one of the games in 36, but he tends to play 90 minutes. He tends to look very good, and he looked fit right up until the last minute of that Manchester United game. There's a reasonable gap until the Everton game now, so I still think there's a good chance that Mount plays that. And then with Havertz, I think, again, there's a reasonable chance he plays it, but more so because I think he came off in the 68th, 69th minute against Manchester United. So I think there's a good chance, because Lukaku got 20 minutes, there's a good chance that he plays that game. What I would say with Havertz is that he didn't look very good against Manchester United, and he missed quite a few big chances. So I'm not going to be massively shocked if I see Lukaku start. And to be honest, I wouldn't be massively shocked if Mount doesn't start either. I hope that one of them starts and the other one maybe doesn't come off the bench and I get one of my bench players. So it's very difficult to try and predict which of your Chelsea players will start. And I think that's one of the main reasons that a few people might be looking to sell them. But for me, I just think that maybe the 2 free transfers in Game Week 36 will be slightly more valuable for my team at least. So that is the midfield 4. Let's move on to the final striker and also look at the bench 2. So finishing up the team with the 1 striker in my 5-4-1 and the bench 2. I'm currently starting Ollie Watkins. Again, as I spoke about in the Game Week preview video, if you've not yet watched that, either pause and watch that now or watch this after this video. I spoke about the fact that Ollie Watkins' data over the last 6 has actually been very good for Aston Villa. And Aston Villa's attacking data as a team has actually increased recently as well. And Watkins actually has better minutes per expected goal involvement than Coutinho. I'm not saying that I think he's a better option. To be honest, if I owned Coutinho, I'd be much happier than owning Watkins. I just think Coutinho is a class act. And of course, again, similarly to what I said with Sterling, he's got real explosive ability, as we've seen in previous double game weeks. But I'm perfectly happy starting Watkins this week. And I'm expecting Aston Villa to score a few goals against Norwich. So hopefully Watkins and Cash are involved in those. As you can see, my first sub is Pookie. Now, I'd actually quite like to get Pookie into the team, but realistically, I think Watkins is the better start over Pookie, just due to the fact that Aston Villa have better attacking data and also due to the fact that Norwich are poorer defensively. So I don't think I'm going to play Pookie over Watkins. Realistically, I want to start my triple City, triple Chelsea and double Liverpool. So it's basically Cash versus Pookie. Now, I did run a poll over on Twitter. 73% think that I should start Cash. 27% think I should start Pookie. Twitter polls aren't particularly useful, but do let me know down below, who would you start out of Cash and Pookie? The really frustrating thing with this dilemma, in comparison to most benching dilemmas, is that it's a direct clash. So it's either going to go very well or very poorly. If Norwich score, it's almost definitely going to be Pookie involved, in which case I'm going to be sad because Pookie's on my bench and Cash is starting. If Aston Villa keep a clean sheet and I start Pookie, of course, that means Pookie's going to blank and Cash will be on my bench with a clean sheet. The one potential saving grace is that I do have Sterling, Alonso, Havertz and Mount, who are slight rotation risks. I guess Cancelo is too, but I'm pretty sure Cancelo is going to start. So there's a small possibility I see Pookie off the bench anyway. But to be honest, I'm expecting most of my players to start, and even those that don't will probably come off the bench. So Pookie will probably end up staying first sub, but do let me know down below. Do you prefer Cash Norwich at home or Pookie Aston Villa away? And then the 2 other subs, very cheap, not very good fixtures this week, is Gordon and Gelhardt. As we've spoken about for a while now, going with this draft in last week's videos, I need to get rid of Gelhardt next week for a slightly better striker. We're going to discuss who I'm looking at in 2 seconds when we go over and do a live tinker. But Gelhardt needs to be upgraded at some point. I don't need to do that this week because the team is very good and I've already got a very strong first sub. If I look at this team this week and think, who am I dreading not having? Who would I actually like to have in my team if I were potentially something like free hitting? Realistically, it's probably Saka. Saka's the one that I regret probably not going with on my wild card. Looks like he's still on penalties because Lacazette isn't playing. Just looks really good at the moment. Of course, he's not going to continue to get a penalty every single week. And outside of that, his attacking data has been good, not great. But the fact that West Ham, I think they've now got Zuma back, but they've probably not got that many fit defenders at the moment. And the fact that they are prioritising the Europa League as we speak, of course, I think there's a decent chance that Arsenal will get maybe 2 or 3 goals. And Saka's probably involved in that. So I'd quite like Saka for this week, but I don't think it's worth using a transfer on when my starting 11 is pretty strong anyway. If I bring in Saka, I've got a bench cash. And if I bring in Saka, it probably means removing Havertz or Mount. So maybe I'd get to start cash still. But do I want to remove a Chelsea player to waste transfer to get Saka in when maybe I can just do that in game week 36? And then outside of that, maybe just a Tottenham player who I would probably end up captaining if I did own them. But I'm quite happy taking the risk with the Sterling captaincy. So apart from Saka, Son and Kane, outside of that, I'm not too displeased. Maybe De Bruyne, but again, I've got Sterling in there as a decent alternative. So I'm happy enough with the team. Like I said, 1 free transfer, 0.2 million in the bank. The major thing that I need to consider is what moves am I going to make for 36 to allow me to upgrade Gelhardt to a playing striker to give me a full playing 15 doublers for game week 36 bench boost. So without further ado, let's do a little bit of a live tinker. Let's look at which transfers I'm potentially planning on making in 36. Also take a little look ahead to game week 37. But do let me know down below, what do you think of my team going into game week 35? So guys, before we jump into looking at Bench Boost 36 and beyond, I thought I'd just give a massive shout out to Fantasypaedia because they are sponsoring today's video. Like I said, I think this is just a really, really nice combination between Fantasypaedia and my YouTube channel as well. They are creating absolutely amazing content over on Twitter. So this isn't an ad to try and get you to download an app of any kind or to go onto a website. It's purely just to say, please go over and support a brilliant team of content creators that are creating really, really class content that I'm going to continue to use for the videos in this season and potentially into next season as well. So first link in the description will take you over to their Twitter. All they want you to do is go follow their Twitter and support their content. So please go and do that. For each week, they do loads of threads and really cool graphics, but the ones that I love and the ones that have been really, really popular and really good at predicting the results over the recent weeks is their chances conceded in different areas of the pitch for the different matchups for that week. So what they've done here is they've looked at some of the key matchups and looked at where some of these teams are conceding their chances. So what I'd like you to do is go over, drop it a like and retweet it like that and just let them know that Raptor sent you. So go over, first thing in the description, like their post, retweet, and have a little read through it. But I'm just going to go through it really quickly now just to show you some of the stuff that they're doing. So this is chances conceded, like I said, starting with the Tottenham versus Leicester game. So if we just scroll down here, you can see that the arrow's pointing on that right-hand side, which is where Kulusevski functions. So this suggests that Leicester concede most of their chances in their left wing-back role or their left-back role, which, like I said, whereas Kulusevski goes. And as Fantasypaedia have said here, it's actually where Kane tends to drift out wide and then ping balls to the back post for Son. Now, you can look at this 2 ways, and this is where it really comes into how you want to interpret this data. You can interpret this as Kane and Kulusevski are going to get a lot of space, potentially even Emerson Royale on that right-hand side. Or you could look at it as, well, Son could approach that back post with Kane whipping the balls. So it could be, and this is what the data might suggest, a classic Son and Kane sort of combination double up where Kane's hitting that back post for Son's latching onto the end of it and scoring. But it would suggest that at least Leicester are conceding a lot of space down their left-hand side, the opposition right. And then for the Manchester United-Brentford game, it's where Sancho is operating. Now, whether Sancho is available for the Brentford game or not due to injury, we're going to have to wait and see. Ronaldo also drifts out to the left, and if it's not Sancho, it could potentially be Rashford or Elanga. I would suggest that you probably don't want to take a punt on a Manchester United player anyway, seeing as they blank in 37 and they're not looking very good anyway. If we just scroll down then, you can see that the next one we've got here is the Newcastle and Norwich game. So Liverpool versus Newcastle. Newcastle are conceding most of their chances down their right flank, which is where Luis Diaz is operating and also where Mane is operating. Depends on who you think will start on that left wing. I've got a feeling it'll probably still be Mane. Probably Diaz will be dropping out and then Jota will be going through the middle. So it'll probably be Mane, Jota and Salah. So maybe Mane is a really good option to captain if you've still got him as an option. And it also suggests that, again, Robertson's going to be getting a lot of space once again. The other way you can look at it, as we spoke about before, is that it could be that Robertson and Diaz/Mane are getting a lot of chances and they're whipping it back post to the likes of Salah and Trent. Depends which way you want to view the data. And then we've got Aston Villa versus Norwich, which is obviously going to be a big one. As you can see here, Norwich are conceding a lot of chances down the middle, left and right. But where they're conceding just about the most of their chances is down that right flank of the opposition. So Matty Cash looks like he could be a really good option this week. A little bit of confirmation bias there, but it just shows that Norwich concedes so many chances. As you can see, 134 on the left, 133 in the middle, and 136 down the right-hand side. So I'd expect Aston Villa to get quite a few chances here. And also, Fantasypaedia have also highlighted that Norwich concede a lot of chances from set pieces. So maybe Mings and Konsa could be getting on the end of a corner or a free kick of some kind. Just moving down then to the final one here we've got is Liverpool, Man City versus Leeds, I should say, and then Chelsea versus Everton. So Chelsea versus Everton is a very similar situation to as we saw there with Aston Villa versus Norwich, in that Everton are conceding a lot of chances from absolutely everywhere. It would suggest that, again, Alonso, Werner, Mount, James, all of these different players, Havertz, are all decent options, but it's difficult to try and highlight exactly where Everton are going to be conceding most of their chances. And then the final one is Manchester City versus Leeds. As you can see on the graphic right now, De Bruyne is there. The reason for that is that Man City are creating a lot of chances through the centre of the pitch, as they always do. And Leeds are conceding a lot of chances from the centre of the pitch. If De Bruyne plays through the middle, as you always do, whether that's in the false nine or the number 8, it's normally the number 8 role in the Premier League. He obviously functions a lot through the centre of the pitch, threading a lot of passes, driving with the ball. So whoever plays in that false 9 role, if that's Bernardo Silva, Foden, Sterling, Jesus, and also De Bruyne, I think they're going to be very good chances. That's why I quite like a punt on Sterling, because if Grealish starts on the left, or potentially through the middle, and Sterling's on the left, they do rotate a little bit, and I do think you could see Sterling through the middle a little bit. Anyway, that is what Fantasypaedia do. Like I said, free graphics, free content creation. Please go over and drop them a follow. First link in the description will take you to Fantasypaedia. Go support them. Go show them some love. Really great team that are trying to build up their Twitter account and build up their following. And like I said, I think we'll continue to use some of their graphics because I really, really like the research that they do. Right, so let's look ahead to the final few weeks of the season. Not long now until we'll be finishing the season. I've absolutely loved it, by the way, creating content, but I'm not going to get all soppy now. So, game week 35, like I said, very, very unlikely I'll make a transfer. If I am to make a transfer, it would be probably a bit of FOMO about Saka, because he just looks really good being on penalties, and West Ham look like they've got quite a few injuries, and they're focusing, obviously, on the European competition. So, there's a chance, I suppose, if Tuchel says something or there's an injury, that I'd try and get Saka in. Outside of that, I want to roll the transfers. That I've got 2 free transfers for game week 36. The reason for that is because currently I'm fairly happy with the bench boost for 36, apart from Gelhardt. Now, I only have 0.2 in the bank, and the next best option is probably one of Mateta, João Pedro, or Nketiah. Probably Nketiah at 5.4. What that essentially means is I need to make 2 transfers to upgrade Gelhardt, and as a result, because I'll probably want to make a 3rd transfer as well, just to optimize my team as much as possible. I don't want to be taking more than a -4 really to try and sort my bench boost for 36, especially considering I only wildcarded last week. So the current plan is to roll the transfer. This is the way the team currently looks. If we just move on to game week 36, I've set up what my bench boost currently looks like. I do think I'll actually captain Cancelo. I don't think this is something where I'm just saying I'll do it and then in 36 I end up captaining Salah. Similar to the reason for this week, not that I don't think it's a great double for Salah, I just think it's a very good double for Manchester City. And outside that, clean sheets are always very likely. I would expect probably 1 clean sheet here and maybe an attacking return, if not maybe 2 clean sheets. I know that's expecting quite a lot, but City are that good, and I think Cancelo will start every game for the remainder of the season. If I can get 12 to 15 points off Cancelo, I'd expect him to do fairly well there and maybe outscore Salah. So I think that potential is there for him. Outside of that, I think Alonso's a decent option as well, but I guess we'll approach that next week and maybe there'll be another standout option. Maybe I'll try and get De Bruyne into my team. I just don't think that's going to be possible because I also need to upgrade Gelhardt. So with respect to the transfers I'm currently planning, it's basically going to be one of Sterling, Mount, and Havertz being downgraded. The reason I say that is I'm happy with the defence. I'm not going to lose either of my City players. I'm not going to lose Trent or Salah. I'm not going to lose Alonso. I think he's fine. I think he'll start almost every game for the remainder of the season, maybe missing that Leeds game, but we'll have to wait and see there. Maybe he'll play 60 minutes and come off. I'm not going to sell Watkins or Pukki because Watkins doubles in 37 too. Pukki, obviously, I've got him for this double in 36. Gordon is, in my opinion, the best budget enabler in midfield. And Matty Cash, again, has the double in 37 too. So the only positions that I can sell, really, are Sterling, Mount, and Havertz. Now, if those 3 played every single game, if they played both of their games, I should say, in the double, I wouldn't want to sell any of them. What it's going to come down to is how many minutes each of them play in game week 35 and how good each of them look too. If Havertz plays 90 minutes, looks really rubbish and looks really knackered, I'd probably end up selling him, just as an example. Similarly, if Mount plays another 90 minutes, I'm looking at it and thinking, is he going to continue to start? Again, the same with Sterling there. So I've got the option to downgrade any of them. And with respect to who I'm currently planning on bringing in, it would probably be one of 3 players. De Bruyne I desperately want, but I can't work out an easy way anyway to get De Bruyne whilst also getting a better striker for Gelhardt and then also having obviously the funds to do that. I'd have to then downgrade another one. I can do it, but for me that's a -4 to take out Sterling and one of my Chelsea boys. I'm just not sure I need to do that. So Outside of that, the two players that I'm considering are either Phil Foden, which again seems a slightly sideways move, but I think Foden's probably slightly more likely to play both games than Sterling is. And if it's not Foden, I'm looking at Saka. So I think the most sensible move in this case, depending on what happens in 35, of course, we'll discuss this in next week's video and next week's stream as well. I'm looking at probably doing Havertz to Saka. Again, this could be Mount to Saka if not. Let's just say Havertz to Saka for now. And then Gelhardt to Nketiah. Right, so if I do like that, that would probably be the bench boost. I think those would be the players on my bench. It might be that I say actually I'd have Watkins on my bench. Right, we could say Watkins, we'll say Nketiah. Let's say Nketiah for now because I think he's slightly less nailed. By the way, we discussed this in the Gameweek preview video. I don't know if Nketiah is nailed. I think he's fairly nailed. There's a decent chance that Lacazette starts one of the games in the double, but outside of that, it's basically João Pedro or Mateta. Mateta's only got one game. João Pedro, again, isn't completely nailed, and even if he is, I don't expect that much from the Watford strikers. Now, that would leave me with 0.4 million in the bank, so I've got plenty of money in the bank to do that. Let me activate the bench boost as well, which you can do on FPL.team. This is FPL.team, the website I'm using, by the way. So this is the way the team would currently look. So that's option one. The other option is, rather than doing Havertz to Saka, right, so let me put Havertz back in, I could do Sterling to Saka, is another option. It would only leave me with double City, but I do have the double defense, which I'm not too displeased with. That would then allow me, rather than Nketiah, to get Richarlison in that spot. So I'd still have 1 million in the bank there, right? So I have that option. Now, the other option I have, as long as there hasn't been any price changes, but I don't actually know this yet, so let's find out live together, is rather than Saka, yeah, I can still just about afford Foden. Now, this probably looks like the best balance of everything. I get Foden for Sterling, and like I said, I think Foden's got slightly better data and he's slightly more likely to start both games. I also get Richarlison, who probably wouldn't be on the bench boost after that. It would probably be Watkins dropping to the bench. And I think Richarlison I then get for game week 37 as well. He's on penalties, looking really good. I think that's a really good three strikers to have: Richarlison, Pukki and Watkins to finish in 36 and 37. The issue with this is that I don't get Saka into my team. Now, I don't think Saka's essential. And again, they have Leeds and Tottenham, so it's not the best double. But in the other one, I get Saka and Nketiah, which is pretty decent for two attacking players against Leeds. And they've also got Newcastle and Everton in 37 and 38 Arsenal. In this one, I don't get any Arsenal players, but I do get Foden and Richarlison. So I haven't completely decided yet. Essentially, it's probably 4 players, and it's either going to be Saka and Nketiah, Saka and Richarlison, or Foden and Richarlison. And it depends who I take out of Sterling, Mount and Havertz. Hopefully that's clear on what I'm currently looking at doing with my team. I think that's clear. Hopefully let me know down below if it's not. Let me put Sterling back in. I think the most likely one that I'll do, just because I think I'm going to want to keep Sterling. I just don't think it probably makes a lot of sense to sell him. It's probably going to be the one where I bring Saka in for Havertz, and probably then it will be Nketiah in for Gelhardt, right? It was the first move that we spoke about. I think that's probably the best balance that I've got. And then my bench boost, because I like to be honest about my bench boost. I'm not someone that's going to put Saka and Sterling on my bench and say that's my bench boost. My realistic bench would be Foster, Nketiah, Gordon and Cash. And to me, I'm happy I held the bench boost for this because that looks like a good bench boost to me, and I'm happy with the starting 11 as well. Do let me know down below what you think of that bench boost. If we just look ahead to game week 37 and 38, just to show you currently what my team's looking like, it would be probably, I'd probably be looking at getting Coutinho in here and then maybe a Palace player. The issue I've got is that Villa don't have a good fixture in 38 and neither do Palace really. So do I want to take out 2 players that have good fixtures in 38, for example, something like Mount and maybe Nketiah, to bring in other players that don't have the best fixtures in 38? So it's finding that balance of attacking 37 as much as I can, but also not battering my team to do so. And the other thing I wanted to just draw your attention to for 37, and the discussion I'll be having with myself, but this is a way away still, is that when I bring in my doublers, so Gordon will come in there, and Cash will probably come in maybe for Laporte or Alonso. Let's just say for now it's Laporte. This is my team. Do I need to bring in Coutinho? Do I need to bring in any Everton players? Do I need to bring in Leicester players? Yes, they have doubles, but the single game week players are actually very, very good here. What I'll most likely do at this stage, I'd have 1 free transfer, right? 0.4 in the bank. If I've not sold Sterling, I think this might be the time to do so. This could be the time that we see a little bit of rest for Sterling. And also, I just think that it offers the opportunity. If I do Sterling to Coutinho, that also will give me some funds to make another move for another double game week player. So at this stage, I could potentially be looking at something like Maddison or Barnes. I could look at Richarlison in for Pookie. So let's say I do get Richarlison in for Pookie as another option, right? So these are some of the moves. I've still got 2.3 million in the bank as well. So these are some of the potential moves I could make. The other option that I've got, let me just get him into the team just to show you what that might look like roughly. So something like that it will look like. Very strong bench, very strong starting 11. Don't need the free hit, which is a good thing because I don't have the free hit. The other thing I need to think about is, do I actually use this opportunity to get either Son or Kane into my team, right? So rather than doing the Coutinho move, I could say, you know what, I've got double Aston Villa already. I don't need triple Aston Villa, especially considering they've got a very tricky fixture in 38 and Son has a fantastic fixture. I could use this to either get Son into the midfield, or I could actually say, you know what, I'm not going to get Son. Rather than get Richarlison, I'll get Kane. And then that would leave me for this spot where I had Sterling. It's going to leave me with 4.3 million, right? So I know this seems like a bit of a waste, but I could bring Delph in. I could start Delph to some extent, but probably unlikely to do so. So that would allow me to get Kane in place of Sterling. I could, like I said, alternatively, I could just bin off Kane. I could just do Son, right? So rather than that, once again, sorry for doing a lot of sort of chopping and changing. Rather than that, in this Delph space, I could just bring in Son, right, for the Sterling role. This is thinking ahead to 38 a little bit more than just thinking ahead to 37. That would leave me with 5.8 in the bank. I can bring in anyone for that 5.8 role. Gallagher's obviously too much, but I could be bringing in anyone for that role, right? It doesn't particularly matter. Let me just put Martinelli in now, just as a random player. Sorry, it's for Kane. Apologies. Striker then. Anyone that could be. We'll just put Veghorst in for now. Could be literally anyone. We've got 0.6 in the bank, so we'll deal with that in a second. So essentially what I'm looking at here is getting in Son into that midfield for Sterling rather than fixating on the doublers for 37, right? Let me just put Gelhardt in here because I know he's cheap enough, right? If we then move to, so that's the team, how the team would look probably for 37. If we then move to 38, that would be for a -4, I should say. The team's looking okay, but I could definitely do with taking out 1 or 2 players and maybe taking a couple of punts in there as well. So it would probably be, like I said, this would now give me the opportunity, if I bring in Son or Kane, to captain them in 38. And I do think they're the best captaincy choices for that week. I've then got 2 spots in Watkins and Cash to change. So Watkins would probably be taken out for Tony for me. And then I can basically put in, like I said, I can put in Laporte there. I can just leave it there. I can take a few risks in 38. But the team doesn't look terrible for 38. It's definitely not my best looking team for that week, but I think it's fine as well. So that's the general plan. 37 and 38 is very difficult to think about now. But 36, this is roughly what the team will look like. I could have Richarlison in there. I could have Foden in there. Havertz might be in there and Sterling might come out. There's a few players that could change around, but let me know what you think of my plan. Let me know who you think I should be prioritizing. And most importantly, because this is the week directly in front of us, let me know what you think of my team for Game Week 35. I will be doing a deadline stream, probably starting around 9 a.m., maybe slightly earlier. I'll schedule that stream, so turn on notifications so that you know when that stream gets scheduled. But I will see you on Saturday morning. This is the team, how it currently looks anyway for Game Week 35. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 35 team selection. Not long now till the end of the season. This is the final single game week before the double in 36 and 37, finishing with that Game Week 38 finale. So I hope you've been enjoying the content. If you have been enjoying the content and you enjoyed today's video, please do drop it a like. Please do drop some sort of comment down below to feed the algorithm gods. And also do subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. I'm hoping to hit 15,000 subscribers before the end of the season, but I think that's probably slightly optimistic. But we can hope. We're very close to 14,000 now, so fingers crossed. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, for the deadline stream. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.